thanks for joining us. You're going to learn a lot today about a subject that is all too familiar. Tim Cheney, pronounced that right, and Adrian Hooper Jr., thanks so much for being with us today. I reached out to you because you have come up with a first responder reporting system in a time when we have such opioid overdose, drug abuse. You've come up with something that you're rolling out now, hopefully to towns and cities and police departments, that does what, Tim?
Well, first, it gives you real-time data reporting on overdoses. But I'd like to go back for a second, if I could, and talk about, from an epidemiological standpoint, how we're failing at what we're doing, because all the data that's released is data that's already no longer
So
valid.
33,000 overdoses in 2015.
Right, right.
That's a lot.
Yes.
And our kids are dying.
But this is 2017, and that's why you just came up with that number. And so this gives you real-time numbers. I used to do epidemiology in the city of Boston for the Boston SMSA back in the 70s. And our indicator system really was better back then in terms of how we collected and disseminated data to inform policy, to inform treatment, to inform prevention than it is today.
So this app is called Overdose Warning Network, or OWN. Take me through it. It's on my phone, it's on my desktop. Who's using it, Adrian? And once you put in data, where does it go?
Well, we want hospitals, police, EMT, your average citizen to use it when they come across an overdose. And they apply some naloxone. And we want the information to show the location, race, age, gender, and then it goes into our data banks. And then you can create reports that'll show.
So we'll create hotspots that are all over the place.
What we have done, and right now the first release of it had what is known as a heat map on it. And the heat map, the more overdoses that were concentrated in a specific location, the redder it got, to give it an indication of, here's a problem, you can visually see it. And so this comes in both a map and a tabular format. So as Adrian said, but what we look at not only the primary substance, the secondary substance, also the date and timestamp of the incident, the location, which would be state, city, county, and zip code. Okay, and that
so you're really drilling down locally.
That informs law enforcement. But then the client, although we don't obviously collect the name for HIPAA reasons, because they become a patient if they're being treated. But what we do is we collect the demographics, age, gender, race, but also the city that they're from. So let's say hypothetically a lot of people are coming down from Higganum or Middletown and they're buying heroin in New Haven, or laced with fentanyl or just heroin or whatever, and they're overdosing. All of a sudden we start to see trafficking patterns between it, which informs treatment planning and prevention efforts from the city where these people are coming from.
So you've got push alerts, is that correct?
We do.
How does this work?
Push notification. When somebody signs up for the application, there will be a button whether they want push notifications. Now, depending on the level of their membership for it, because this wasn't...
There'll be a cost to sign up, of course.
There'll be a cost to sign up, but there'll also be a free for the concerned citizens, which will be for their city, and they'll be eligible to get a push notification. So the push notification is, you enter the data, smartphone, iPhone, iPad, desktop, Android, etc., compatible. You enter it on the screen. If you don't want to type in the city, you push geolocator. It automatically pinpoints where you are. You fill out the little fields. It's all in drop-down format, primarily to ensure uniform data collection so the data is valid. Okay, so that when the reporting comes out, it comes out clean, rather than having different words for the same area being spelled differently. And so there's this robust reporting system, and you can look at it by zip code, state. There are 13 different variables you can filter and then subgroup your reports. And at the end, it takes you 1 minute to create the report, and you've got a report for the whole state of Connecticut, broken out by city or whichever way you want. Then we have a download I'm excited. We have
You should be.
There's a download function where you just click download and it opens up right in Excel and you can do whatever you'd like with your data.
Why are the two of you doing this? It's not just purely a business.
Well, one thing I'd like to see and what I'm excited about is that getting real-time data, the news media will pick it up, and hopefully like they did during the Vietnam War, where we heard body counts every single day, maybe we'll bring more attention and awareness to what's going on, and there'll be more action. I mean, since the last 2 years, there's been more overdose deaths than all of Vietnam, both Iraq wars and Afghanistan together.
Which is staggering.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
Is it getting worse?
Actually, if you look at the greatest of all the wars in history, we're number 3 if you do it per year. And Vietnam was 20 years.
You said you got into this, Tim, because you want to save lives. And
I do.
You have a background that you're bringing to this. Just tell the folks what that background is and why you find yourself doing this.
Well, I have a background. One, I'm a person in long-term recovery, and I do come from New Haven, and I was a heroin addict. And so this is...
It's close to home.
It hits close to home. It's very gratifying, actually.
Did you get to a point where you almost died?
I did.
So this matters.
Oh, of course it matters, yes. Yeah.
Did you get the help that you needed soon enough?
Well, I'm still alive. I don't know how you say what is soon enough, because I think we all travel a certain path to get where we need to get. But I almost died a multitude of times, and I have been saved by naloxone in my life, and never knew whether I'd walk again. I was paralyzed from the waist down because of the severity of the overdose. But my history is so, A, I have been a participant on that side of the tracks. B, I've worked in treatment. I worked in treatment in the jail in New Haven, the Whaley Avenue Jail, same place where I spent some time as a guest when I was younger. And I also worked for the City of Boston Drug Treatment Program as their Director of Research, and also
So you've been giving back ever since.
epidemiology. So I've been doing advocacy work since 1979, and which is a considerable period of time.
How did the two of you come together?
We met through our ex-wives. I had a house about...
There you go, you have to meet somehow.
And X being the X-Files.
I had a house about 3 miles away from Tim, and we just started talking to each other about how many treatment centers each of us had been in, and it came to like between
So you
the
had
two of us.
issues as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So here you are, you've had the issues, you're putting something together that's going to save lives. I just want to read this. The new app soon will be able to notify law enforcement, medical, and emergency personnel when overdoses occur in their town, city, or state through a push notification that we talked about. First responders, prevention and treatment personnel, and policymakers no longer have to wait for data, which you brought up. We have listed enhancements to this app. As you roll this thing out, I would assume that police departments are going to say, hey, we need something else on here.
What we are doing is we're offering the first 10 cities, 100,000 or larger, basically, to be beta testers. And what that means is they get a la carte the whole system, but what we're looking for is user feedback. Now, I may know what you need, but you may know what you want. And so it's my job to bridge, as long as we keep the data clean, valid, reliable data, then we also want the user input on what would be helpful to them. So anything you develop as an application is always a work in progress, and the minute you roll it out, it's already obsolete that day, and you're working on your next rendition of this.
So just boiling this down, this is a real-time situation. You will save lives because they're going to have hot spots. They're going to know where the problems lie. Personally, what's that going to do for you, that you've rolled this out, that you're going to save lives?
We made a difference.
Yeah, and people will be able to see what's going on right now. I mean, between, when you woke up this morning until right now during this show tonight, you'll know how many people in the country or in your neighborhood or your city or state or county, you'll know how many people have overdosed, how many were saved, and how many died.
Roughly 167 a day at this point in
And
this country
rising.
are dying.
In 6 months, how many cities and towns do you hope to have signed up? And police departments and hospitals?
Well, quite honestly, I would like to just, we would like to just basically lease this annually to the CDC. And we take care of the background of it. We do it. We're not in this for the money, okay?
Have you talked to the CDC about it yet?
We have talked to the CDC. I'm on the Governor's Substance Abuse Services Council
Up in Maine. Yeah.
And a matter of fact, that's how this came up. The CDC was there, and we were talking about their data, and I was complaining about their data. And so we got into sort of a conversation. I said, well, you know, it sounded like Steve Jobs. I've got an app for that. And so I continued. I rolled out a schema off the top of my head, a database schema on what we could do and how we do it. And they said, well, that sounds very interesting, Tim. Why don't we talk at the next meeting? So as I got up to leave the room, I said, well, you guys arrange the next meeting and talk about it. I'm going to go out and develop it. And so that afternoon, on my way back, I was going to one of the treatment programs that we help up there. And I called Adrian. I said, what do you think? And Adrian said, geez, this is brilliant. And by the time I got home, I developed a whole wireframes and database schema. And by 9 o'clock that night, we had the specs down to our back-end developers.
That's terrific. We get a hold of this by overdose-911.com, correct?
No, overdose-911.com/own. But it is going to be on overdosedata.com. That will be the live site, overdosedata.com. And we're already on page 1 of Google, and we haven't even released it.
In your time of using, how many kids did you know back then that died on the first time they tried it? Anybody? That's happening all the time now.
I didn't know anybody that died, but I saw somebody that almost, I mean, he was turning blue his first time. And we threw him in the shower, cold water, walked him around, ice cubes. I mean,
Salt shots.
We were scared to death.
So there, by the grace of God, you are here, and you are trying to help others. And I hope that Adrian and Tim, this works, that we can save some lives, because too many kids are dying. I thank you so much for coming on and telling us about it, and good luck. And in 6 months, I hope it's in cities and towns all over the country.
And we hope that you help us get us there.
Oh, by word of mouth, it travels.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
again.
Thank you so much.
Spend all night kissing, and if was right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked if I'm so wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store, but mine just to save time. Skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the less we can see. Don't you know, that you